All right, let me tell you about the cooling system on my 66 Mustang. You know, going to be making a long road trip, really don't want to be overheating. This is a radiator out of a 67 to 70 Mustang. It's a 24-inch radiator instead of the stock 21. This is a Champion aluminum 2-core. Each core is 1 inch wide. I haven't had any problems with this. The fan setup is out of a Ford Contour. I'll leave the part numbers for both of these in the description. And so this is a twin fan setup, and it fits perfect to this radiator. Now, to get the wider radiator to fit requires a little modification on the radiator support. In stock form, there's the front of the radiator support, there's a flange that goes in, and then it turns back to be parallel to the front of the radiator support. And it turns in about 1.5 inches on both sides. So if you trim it right where it turns, the opening fits the wider 24-inch radiator. The height of this radiator, it just sticks up above the core support, just a touch, but there's still a gap between this and the hood. Let me tell you a little bit about these fans. So it's a twin fan setup, and so this is just like an OEM replacement. Again, I think it's a Ford Contour. I'll leave the part number. Now this fan unit I have in here is actually, I flipped it upside down because the fan unit comes with this built-in resistor. So it's really a 2-speed 2-fan setup. It goes through the resistor, it drops the voltage, and they spin at a lower speed, or you can bypass the resistor and it spins at a higher speed. I think in a normal setup you could just bypass the resistor, run the fans at 1 speed. I happen to have Holley Sniper on my vehicle here, which part of the wiring harness, which includes a temperature sensor, has ground triggered outputs for electric fans, and it has 2 of them. Really, a fan 1 and a fan 2. I've used them for fan speed 1 and fan speed 2. And so to run that, my wiring from my Holley harness comes out here, and it comes to this relay. And this relay is actually out of a Volvo, and it has on the right here, that's the 12 volts in, which I got going straight from the battery. It has 2 ground inputs and then 2 outputs. So it relays from the in to the 2 outs. So you can hook fan 1 from the Holley Sniper into the ground trigger 1, and then fan 2 into the ground trigger 2, and then you get the 2 outputs. So my output 1, I'll say my ground trigger 1 turns on, I think about 195 degrees. And then so it triggers the output 1, which actually then goes into the built-in relay and then to the fans. I'm sorry, the built-in resistor and then out to the fans. And then if the temperature keeps going up, the ground trigger number 2 turns on from the Holley. I think it's 205 degrees. And then power comes out. The second half of the relay bypasses the resistor, and then the fans come on at full speed. Okay, so this relay from the Volvo paired with the Holley Sniper, paired with this fan setup, and the fan comes with this resistor just built into the casing. It's normally on the driver's side at the bottom of the fan, so I flipped the fan upside down, so it's now on the passenger side and on the top, which is near my battery, which is great. And then my wiring harness comes in here. And then I also have, coming into the relay, a trigger from my air conditioning condenser. So when the pressure gets high enough, it'll trigger the low speed fan, just to make sure air is running through the condenser, even if the vehicle is not at temperature for the fan. Now I do have 180 degree thermostat in there, a little lower than stock. That's kind of why I have my fan temperatures set the way they are. I also have this filter in the top radiator hose, so the return to the radiator. There's several versions of these. This one's like solid brass, and it has a kind of a mesh cage in there, which I've emptied out a couple of times. It catches particles, mostly RTV or some gasket material. I think that gets in the coolant system, maybe a little bit of rust. But I was actually surprised in how much came out of it the 2 times I've emptied it. Tried to empty it a 3rd time, not as much, so that's pretty good. Now when I go on the Hot Rod Power Tour, I'm probably going to replace this top radiator hose and just go without the filter, just in case this gets full or the vehicle gets hot. The way it clamps on, there's not really a bead on this filter for the clamps to grip. I've never had problems, but I don't want to risk this popping loose. And the filter's probably done, you know, I've probably got a couple thousand miles since I've done this, so it's probably filtered out everything it's going to. Anyways, this is how you can get that 24-inch radiator in a 65-66 Mustang. This fan setup I think works really well, especially with the Holley Sniper and this relay, so you can have 2 speeds for your fan. Staying cool on that road trip is going to be really important. You know, I also did some to seal the kind of built-in shroud that comes with the fan, to seal it to the radiator. I just got some backer rod, you know, from the hardware store. Just kind of slid it halfway with a razor, put it around there so it has a little bit of a foam seal to the radiator itself. And I actually did the same thing between the radiator, if you can see it down here, between the radiator and the core support. The one last thing I'll mention is to mount the radiator to the core support. You can do a few things. I set it down in here, you know, it dropped all the way to the strut rod kind of brace that go out diagonally. I shimmed it up just a little bit so it wouldn't be riding down there. And then this built-in kind of mounting provision on the radiator. I drilled a hole, just ran a bolt through it. And then if you saw on the front side here, I did a little, here we go, a riv nut right in there. I used to have the overflow hooked on here. That's what that nut's left from. But there's the riv nut. If you've never used one of those, you can just rivet in threads to mount straight to. So I got 2 of those on each side. And I just went straight through the support. It pulled it tight to the radiator support. I kind of had that foam in there to give it a little bit of cushion and to seal it to the radiator support to make sure I got good airflow. Thus far, this thing's been working great. Maybe I'll throw in a little clip here. I was going down the freeway the other day, 65 to 70 miles an hour, had the air conditioning going. It was in mid 80s outside, wasn't too hot, but man, it was just running ice cold, right at 180 degrees or right below that. I do have a catch can down here. It's never really overflowed into it though. So that's how good this setup's been working, and I'm pretty happy with it. All right, next week we'll tackle a new topic. I think I'll talk about the Holley Sniper and the fuel system I set up for that. It's been working great. I actually have it controlling the timing here, even though this isn't a Holley distributor. This is just kind of a very generic HEI style distributor, but you can use a magnetic pickup to send a signal to the Holley to control timing. I'll cover that next week. All right, thanks guys.